I'm Sean Cooper, president and owner of Fit Financial Consulting, LLC, a registered investment advisor. I frequently hear the question, what type of account should I open or what type of account should I invest in? And I've also heard what type of account has the best rate of return. So to address that second question first, because it's the easier of the two, the type of account you invest in or open has absolutely no bearing on your rate of return except to the extent that it impacts your taxes. The account itself is really just a shell. It's the investment vehicles inside of the account, what you choose to invest in, that impacts your return. So stocks, bonds, mutual funds, that is what determines your rate of return, not the account itself. The second question is a bit more complicated, and there's two basic types of accounts. You've got qualified accounts and non-qualified accounts. So over the course of the next 3 videos, I'm actually going to be discussing the advantages and disadvantages of many of the most common types of accounts so that you can better address that question of what type of account should I open for yourself. In this first video, I'm going to be talking about non-qualified accounts. The second video, I'll talk about qualified accounts, specifically retirement accounts. And then in the last video, I'll talk about college savings accounts. So to jump right into the non-qualified accounts, if you're wondering what that even means, basically think of non-qualified accounts as an account that does not qualify for special tax treatment. With that said, it also avoids many of the rules and restrictions that are imposed on qualified accounts that do get special tax treatment. So advantages and disadvantages either way. Some of your most common types of non-qualified accounts are going to be your savings or checking accounts. Most people have these. Other types of non-qualified accounts that you can open would be individual or joint investment accounts. As I alluded to, the big advantage to these non-qualified accounts is there are no limits on deposits or withdrawals made in any given year. And later on, you'll see that that is not the case for qualified accounts. So the only thing that really restricts your ability to make investments or withdrawals or really transactions in general are going to be the underlying investments that you choose to hold. So things like money market accounts may impose restrictions on how many transactions you enact on a monthly basis. Hedge funds will also limit when you can withdraw funds in many cases. So BDCs, things of that nature. So in general terms, your non-qualified accounts are going to be your most liquid accounts. Because of their liquidity, you're also going to be taxed on realized gains or losses on an annual basis. So for more information on the taxability of non-qualified accounts, I definitely encourage you to watch my tax video. But in general terms, you're really looking at short-term capital gains and losses and long-term capital gains and losses. Short-term capital gains are for investments that you hold, so buy and then sell in less than 1 year. They're going to be taxed at your individual income tax bracket. Long-term capital gains and losses are for investments that you hold for longer than a year. Pretty straightforward. Long-term capital gains, just like dividends, are going to be taxed at 15%. Unless, of course, you're in the top 4 income tax brackets, in which case you may also be hit with an additional 3.8% or even a base of 20% with the additional 3.8%. So not great or as advantageous if you're in the top income tax brackets. However, in general terms, long-term capital gains and losses are preferable to short-term capital gains and losses. So jumping back to the non-qualified accounts, though, you have 2 basic types, individual and joint, and they're really incredibly straightforward. Individual is for one person. That individual person has sole control over the account unless there's some other legal document that grants a third party control or the ability to enact transactions on the person's behalf. Joint accounts, on the other hand, allow for multiple owners, so 2 or more people or entities. Entities can open up non-qualified accounts. So by having multiple people owning the account, it means all of those people likely have control over the funds inside of it, making withdrawals, investments, deposits, all of the above. Now, this can be advantageous or disadvantageous depending on the situation and what you're trying to achieve. The really big advantage in my eyes, though, of a joint account is the ability to automatically pass that account to the other owners of the account. So this avoids the probate process, which can be very, very advantageous from a legal perspective and a cost perspective. So again, that's the case unless there's some other legal document that specifies that the funds or the account ownership should pass to some other third party, like a beneficiary or something along those lines. Individual accounts can also achieve the ability to pass and avoid probate by adding on a TOD, that's a transfer on death. So it accomplishes the same thing as the joint account, just a little extra step to reach that and still maintain sole control over the account. That is essentially it for non-qualified accounts, though. Joint or individual, and joint accounts can be open on non-qualified, whereas they can't for most qualified accounts. So that is another advantage. And then short-term versus long-term capital gains, and only when you realize the gains, but it's on an annual basis that you're taxed. That's the gist, though. Next time, I'll talk about qualified accounts, specifically retirement accounts. If you have any questions in the meantime, give me a call at 720-808-6979 or email me at sean.cooper@fitfinancialconsulting.com. Thanks.